All right, everyone. We are back. Just me, solo pod. Ethan is doing his thing. Can't make it today, but yeah, I think this is episode 11, maybe 10, 11, not really sure. But eventful week at the Wyndham Championship. It was played at Sedgefield, and it was kind of a heartbreak for me, which I'll get later into. But yeah, Lucas Glover, 2009 U.S. Open champion, the glove, as some call him, wins this week, outdoing my guy Russell Henley on Sunday. To me, the golf analysts, the nerds, as my brother calls me, this really isn't a big surprise. The last 7 tournament finishes for Glover were T20, miscut, T4, T6, fifth, cut, win. So one of the hottest players on tour. Did a lot with his ball striking and a hot putter. Gained 12 strokes ball striking and 5 strokes putting. So I guess for the modern American golf, that is kind of the recipe to win on tour. He didn't really make many mistakes down the stretch. He kept it in play, hit greens, and I think he was 1 under on the back nine. So wasn't really that much scoring as the birdie fest at Sedgefield usually is, but it was pretty eventful, which kind of transitioned me to Russell Henley. And yeah, I had some coin on Russell Henley. I tweeted out a little kind of my breakdown of him, and yeah, he was a first and second round leader, I believe. Very disappointing weekend. He on the last 3 holes went bogey, bogey, bogey. On 17, he went way right into the woods, punched out into this hole, a divot. I wasn't really watching. However, he couldn't take relief from it, so he had to hack it out, and he got up and down for bogey, which he was tied with Glover. Henley was the group in front of him, so Glove was behind them, so he could kind of see the scores and kind of play safer golf with Henley kind of imploding. And he's kind of known for this from other tournaments. A lot of people on Twitter were saying that, and I really liked him because he was very accurate off the tee and his consistent iron play, which let him down on the back nine. So I was out on the golf course and I was tracking on my phone, and he kind of let me down. I was hoping for my first Twitter outright win, which I guess we'll have to wait till this week to hit that. So disappointing for Russell Henley in that front. But I guess the talk of the town, talk of the Twitter universe, was the Justin Thomas back nine circus. You had the highs and lows. He really put on a show for everyone, I guess. You saw his energy and kind of his heart that he's had on his sleeve his entire career, and most notably at different Ryder Cups. But on 15 he eagled. He had the crowd going with a long eagle putt. He took a bad bogey on 16th par 3, and on 18 he almost chipped in. He was in front of the green. I'm not sure how far. It was kind of a simple chip, but he had to make birdie in that hole to give him a better chance into the top 70, which make it to the first leg of the playoff, which is St. Jude this week. He hit the pin. It was a little too much power on it, and he kind of fell to the ground in misbelief. So you kind of really showed his grit, as the Parma takers say, and kind of heart out there, which is great for JT. We'll get into like the Ryder Cup, stuff of that, but he needed Lucas Glover not to win to make the top 70 in play this week in Memphis, and he finished exactly 71st. My guy Ben Griffin was tweeting a little bit about his emotions throughout the day after his round on if he's going to make it, and he slid in top 70. So congrats to former financial analyst Ben Griffin. So yeah, I mean, some of the changes that we have for the FedEx Cup playoffs at TPC Southwind FedEx St. Jude is it's not top 125 anymore; it's top 70. So it's a no cut event. JT's not in it. Shane Lowry probably on the European Ryder Cup team, and Adam Scott are three are probably the big names that are not playing this week in the playoffs. And we saw Ben Griffin, as I just said, who just snuck into the top 70. And my guy, Nick Hardy, is number 50. So great to hear him on that front to get in the top 50. So kind of different layout for the playoffs with the no cut event. They really want to kind of have no cut events to help the players, I guess, make more money since everyone's going to make the cut. So those are kind of the notable changes this year's 2023 FedEx Cup playoffs. And yeah, we are kind of on to TBC Southwind. So this week is a big week, first leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs. And I kind of want to recap last year, because I think last year was probably one of the, well, I'm trying to think of the right word, but one of the most kind of like, we played 3 playoff holes, and it was one of the most exciting tournaments we've had all year, especially in the playoff that we had. So last year recap, we had Wolves Outdoors beating Sepp Straka in a 3-hole playoff to get his first win on tour. He is hurt right now with a back injury, so he can't defend his title. But on the 3rd playoff hole on the par 3, Zalatoris hit it on the right side of the green, hit the rocks that's around the green, kept popping up and down, and didn't go in. Straka had the same exact line, hit those same exact rocks, but put it in the water. And they both had to take a drop because Zalatoris couldn't hit his ball. And it wound up that Zalatoris won that hole and took his first tour event of the year. So Zalatoris is not in the field this week. Unfortunately, with a back injury, I think he's coming back in the fall. Probably won't see him until Century Tournament of Champions, honestly. So, but yeah, I want to get into a course preview of TBC Southwind quickly. Par 70, around 7,200 yards. Water comes into play in around 11 holes. You have Bermuda grass, greens, very tight fairway, so off the tee play, good dry percentage is very key to keep the ball in the fairway, not in the rough. And you need to be elite with your iron play to compete here. It's one of the toughest courses with approach play, so you're going to be hitting a lot of wedges and middle irons. So keep it in the fairway, attack pins to score here, which sounds a lot easier said than done for the quality of golfer that I am. So this is, I think, one of my favorite tournaments of the year. It's not really a typical birdie fest, but you can score out here. There's chances to score. The par 5s, I think there's 2 of them being par 7, and they're really easy. So it's a lot of par 4 play. A lot of keep it fair and hit some approach shots. I know that Zalatoris last year didn't hit the ball great off the tee, but he led the field in iron play. So it's a kind of unorthodox style of winning. JT has won here before, and he lost strokes putting. So there's different areas that you can win here. However, kind of the motto of keeping it straight in the fairway, giving yourself approach shots from the fairway to spin the ball, and not play it out of the rough sounds like the best recipe of a profile to win. So I identified 2 player spotlights that we usually go into. The first I'll get into is, I think he's my fair play, probably my outright to win, and that's Colin Morikawa. Whenever you think of good drive percentage and you think of elite iron play, I think of Colin Morikawa instantly. He's not the longest hitter, and you don't really need distance here to compete. He's 3rd in the field in strokes gained approach. He had a disappointing cut at the Open, which I don't think he'll ever win an Open ever again. But he's someone I think he's knocking on the door, and I think he's close to a win. And he's a good course fit, I believe, what I just said. And he also finished T5 last year here. So I think his fairway and greens, hitting irons, is really important this week. Another player spotlight. I'm gonna go deep dive into Cameron Young. He's known for smashing his drives, but I was looking at his iron play. He's a very underrated wedge and middle iron player. He's top 10 player in the middle and wedge iron categories. He ranks 6th between 125 and 150, and 2nd between 150 and 175. He's hot too. I think he's also knocking on the door with 2 top 10s in his last 3 starts. He finished T31 last year here, so he has seen this course before. He had a missed cut at the 3M Open, which is very disappointing for the caliber of player and talent of that field. But I think with him and Colin is that I think they're trying to prove themselves on the Ryder Cup team. So I think maybe a little added pressure might help or not help. But I like him to improve on that finish and contend this week from his T31 last year. I'm gonna go through some sleepers now. I identified two of them, and these are just two guys that I think are being a little overlooked based on, I guess, like the media, or maybe underlooked based on kind of off the course issues and injuries and stuff. And I guess that kind of segue into Tom Kim. Hello? All right. Mic's working still. Okay. Yeah, my first sleeper is Tom Kim. He kind of fits the Collin Morikawa player type, He's not the longest guy, hits a lot of fairways, elite iron play. The one concern about him is that he injured his ankle at the Open Championship. He actually skipped last week at Wyndham. He was the defending champion, could not make that trip out the rest of the ankle for the playoffs. I'm not sure the state of his ankle right now. Hopefully we'll learn this week. But he finished T13 last year, getting 8 strokes ball striking, elite wedge and above average, no iron player. So I think if he can suit up this week, I think he has a great chance to contend and get another PGA Tour win. My second sleeper is probably one of the hottest players out on tour that, not the biggest name on tour, but yeah, one of my favorite sleepers is Benny On. One of the hottest players on tour with 2 top 5s in his last 3 starts and has gained approach in those 2 starts. He's top 20 on tour in tee to green, so one of the most elite players off the tee approach play around the green right now. Finished T12 last year here, so with a sleeper, give me a guy who's playing well, who's playing well right now, and hopefully he can keep it up. I'm going to go into 2 fades of the week. My first fade is Danny McCarthy. And at first I thought he might be a good play based on, he hits it accurate, as I've been saying, and he's a good putter. But if we're really emphasizing approach play, he's not in that form right now. He has lost 7 and 5 strokes from approach in his last 2 starts. 2 of those were missed cuts. He's played well over here in the last 2 years, but, if elite iron play is very important, his irons aren't there, and I am very concerned. So I would be concerned and maybe, take a step back if you're looking at Denny McCarthy. My second fade is I faded this guy before this year, but Sahith Theegala. He hits it every which way, every shot shape you want off the tee, and it's normally not in the fairway. So he's lost strokes on approach in his last 3 starts. He does not have the good form right now. I don't think he has much confidence in his golf game and his play right now, and it's playoff time. So the pressure is up to be in that top 50 and to make the BMW championship. And I think this is someone that, when I'm scrolling through DraftKings or FanDuel and looking for a matchup and trying to fade someone, I think Sahith Theegala is one of the guys that I'm looking to fade this week. So yeah, those are the plays for the FedEx Cup St. Jude. So I guess to summarize everything, elite iron play, approach play is key. Keeping it in the fairway is a huge plus. You don't want to play out of the rough. And, usually like the good putters, I think on the Rick Run Good site, it's 9th in correlated strokes gain putting. So you truly need to be a good putter to win here, but you need to be a good putter really anywhere to win. Unless it's just you drive it anywhere, hit it close, and you make, there's like 5-10 footers all day. But so, this course will reward you for being in the fairway and make some putts. So those are some sleepers and outright spotlight kind of plays, and I'll get into more detail on Twitter, I guess, with some other stats. Yeah. I'm going to now go through the rack-up standings. So Sky Scheffler and Wyndham Clark both have technically qualified with points. The other 4 and then projected top 6 that automatically qualify are Harman, Blake Koepka, Xander, and Cantlay. So it's a big week for the Spieths, Colin, Ricky Fowler, Homa, Finau, Cam Young, Keegan, Sam Burns, and whoever else that they want to showcase their skills and really what they are made of down the stretch to Zach Johnson. So for those guys, there's a little bit added pressure, which I think is really interesting, and we'll see kind of how that group plays out this week. Obviously, the conversation of Ryder Cup for the last, I won't say month or month, 2 months is the state of Justin Thomas's game. You always saw how much he cares out there on the course, as I said. I just feel like with kind of Harman and Wyndham Clark taking 2 spots that were up for grabs, I guess, before Wyndham won the U.S. Open, Harman won the British Open, like you could see a path for JT. But with those 2 guys taking spots, I feel like it might be hard to kind of fit him in. We discussed this and everywhere. His match play record speaks for himself. He's best friends with Spieth. He's a locker room guy, and I think if you care about like the locker room, everyone wants JT on that team. However, I don't think he's really, he hasn't really proven it on the course. Even if you take him, you don't have to play him, 3 times. You can play him once or twice, or even once, and play him in like the Sunday singles. So, if like Keegan or Cam Young or Burns or Finau, who I think are 4 of the bubble guys for the last 2 spots, along with JT, I think if one of those guys can win, I think that just keeps JT out. So obviously JT's at a disadvantage, not making the playoffs and not being able to try to compete and win. So I think these next 2 tournaments, I guess 3 tournaments with the Tour Championship, the playoffs will be really interesting to see how that works with, some of the guys that are on the outside looking in. But I guess we wouldn't really be a podcast without talking about LIV Golf this week. Bryson DeChambeau shot a 58 at LIV Greenbrier in the final round to win his first LIV event. He buried the last 4 holes to shoot a 58, and he made I think around a 40-foot birdie putt on 18. He kind of celebrated like Phil did, kind of throwing his arms in the air, jumping up and down when he made that putt on 18, because all he had to do was par for a 59, but it's a little sweeter getting that 58 on the card. So great moment for Bryson, who I think he's really struggled, honestly, in the last year or so. He's actually had some good major finishes, normally at the PJ Championship, where he was kind of close to the lead with Hovland and Koepka. So he's someone that you have like the LIV bots on Twitter who are calling out Zach Johnson for like if you don't have Bryson on the team, it's just not fair, or whatever these bots want to say. It's again with the Ryder Cup, the team's just too stacked and talented for to put Bryson on because he won a LIV event, beating like 30 people and shooting a 58 on a course that is probably easier than some. So I don't want to not give Bryson the shout that he deserves for that, because you still got to hit the shots, make the putts to shoot a 58 regardless of what course it is. So good moment for him. So just I guess for the Fairway Finder recap, it's our kind of a weekly series where we make a bet, usually like a matchup or a finishing position that is around even odds to kind of keep it fair. So I guess it's a competition between Ethan and I. I don't really look at it that way because I usually bet Ethan's, so I'm cheering for him to win. So just to recap, I took Vincent Norman to finish top 40, which he was hot. Round 1 and 2, he was on. Like, he was making putts. He was, I guess, feeling himself, but he fell off at the end in round 3 and 4 and did not finish top 40. So that was disappointing. I wasn't really focused on him much because I had a Henley outright. So disappointing. I only have 1 win. I think I'm 1 for 4 or 5 at this. Not a great showing. So, I guess I'm giving the people losers to fade. But it's kind of hard to fade in matchups. Or no, I'm sorry. It's hard to fade in finishing positions because you can't bet someone not to finish top 40. So, but Ethan's Fairway Finder was JT top 20 that hit. So I think JT was like 12th in the fields. Ethan's hot right now. I'll give him the shout out what he deserves. He gives the people winners while I'll give out losers. So We move on to this week. The odds for matchups and finishing positions at this hour that I'm recording in the morning uh, are non-existent. They are not up. Only like the outrights are up on DraftKings. FanDuel doesn't even have the outright market yet. So we move on to St. Jude, and we will post ours on social media, which we usually do. But yeah, that really wraps it up. We have St. Jude first round of the playoffs, and then BMW at Olympia Fields in Chicago, and then we have the Tour Championship, which I'll actually be at. I'm gonna go see a friend, and then go catch a practice round, and maybe round one on Thursday. So very interesting week. Doing a solo pod, but I'll do some of my fun Twitter things that I do with different trends and picks and bets. I guess not really sure what that looks like, and I'll also post a grid. So that wraps up episode 11, and catch us next time.